A quick shout out to our newest subscriber, Eric Popke. Welcome to the channel. And now, on to today's video. Orcs. Today's race for character concept. We have actually two different types of orcs within the Forgotten Realms that we need to look at. The Grey Orcs and the Mountain Orcs. The Mountain Orcs are actually the indigenous orc race to the Forgotten Realms, while the Grey Orcs have a similar origin to the Dragonborn in that they came from another, realm. But unlike the Dragonborn, they came in through a portal that some idiot wizard left open. So, what are the orcs? Well, orcs are technically one of the generic fantasy races that people use as an evil counterpart to the elves. Though in Dungeons & Dragons, they don't really have a counterpart. Orcs are the race of conquerors, invaders. So, they're the humans of the Forgotten Realms before humans showed up to the Forgotten Realms. Which is kind of funny when you think about it. Apologies for any extra noise, we are in a slightly windy area. So, for the sub-races, we have the Grey Orcs and Mountain Orcs, like I just said. And, let's see. Some quick origins. A quick fact. During the time of when the gods were supposed to be staking their claim on territories, the god of the Orcs, Grumsh, came a little bit late. And apparently there was no land left to claim. But Grumsh was like, there's land here, there's land here, there's land here. You know what? If you aren't going to let me have land for my people, I will just start taking land from you. And that's what he's been doing, along with all the other orcs. They pillage, raid, take what they want, and conquer. And another quick fun fact, half orc, that's just all orc. Orcs love to get it on with other races almost as much as humans apparently do. There is no such thing as a quote-unquote full-blooded orc. The only race an orc can't breed with are elves. It is forbidden in the orc blood, which is hilarious. I love it. Grumsh is so mad at elves that he just upright says, no elf blood. That was a bunch of rambling, so let's go ahead and get on to the main portion of this video, and that is what character combinations can we come up with for orcs. For backgrounds, the most common backgrounds for an orc would probably be an Acolyte, the Iron Route Bandit, Mercenary Veteran, Outlander, Pirate, and an Uthgar tribe member. For classes, the most common classes would be Barbarian, Cleric, Fighter, Paladin, and Rogue. Now let's go ahead and get a closer look at each of the classes to see what subclasses would best fit an orc. First things first, Artificer. We're going to go ahead and get this one out of the way. We're just referencing the Orcs of the Warhammer 40,000 series, which use scrap metal to make their weapons. It's pretty funny, it's just a reference. Nothing really much into that. I would say Battlesmith would be the most common. but there's really no limit on what you can use for an orc from the Warhammer 40k RPG system. Next, we're going to go into Bard. This is mostly for the Grey Orcs, since they seem to be a little more civilized. In all honesty, I kind of see them being similar to the band the Mongolians. I've said this before in another character concept video, but honestly, there's a lot more Mongolian that I'm seeing from the orcs than I am from what other people are suggesting them being an African stereotype. Even though I have been shown some evidence that they have some resemblance to an African tribe of sorts. But in all honesty, I see Mongolian more. That's the most famous pillager conquerors that I know. So we're just going to go with that. Anyway, for the orcs, I would say an College of the Maestro, College of Valor, and College of Sword would be your best fit for an orc bard. Moving on to Barbarian, probably the most common class that you will pick for your Barbarian, I would say the primal paths would be Ancestral Guardian, Berserker, the new Unearthed Arcana Giant, because one of the bloodlines that orcs commonly mixed with are ogres. So that's funny. That would be a nice reference to have. Anyway, next is Juggernaut, Storm Herald, and Zealot. For Cleric, the orc gods fall under these domains: death, life, nature, strength, tempest, trickery, war, and zeal. So any of those domains would work for an orc cleric. If you want to learn more about the orc pantheon, I would recommend going to the Forgotten Realms wiki. Next is the fighter class. For your martial archetypes, I would suggest Battlemaster, the Unearthed Arcana's Brute, Cavalry, Champion, Rune Knight, Samurai, and the Unearthed Arcana's Scout. Those would probably be the most common ones you would use for an orc fighter. Though more commonly would be the Rune Knight, again referencing that giant bloodline, the Champions, and the Battle Masters or Brutes. Moving on to Monk, this would probably be the least common class you would pick for an orc. And really, this is a reference to a select group of orcs that went to an area known as the Spine of the World, where they just stayed out of everybody's way and are chill pacifists. So yeah, that would be something to go for if you want to reference that. Just some sort of peacekeeping orc that is traveling around making peace deals. Peace negotiations. Be kind of fun, I think. Moving on to Paladin, Devotion, Conquest, and Glory are going to be your main Paladin oaths for an orc to take. Redemption, only if you're becoming the useless pacifists from the Spine of the World, because the Oath of Redemption is only for useless pacifists. Moving on. Ranger. I would say the conclaves of Beastmaster, Fey Wanderer, Gloomstalker, and Hunter would be your most common type of orc. A Fey Wanderer less common. There are actually a sub-race of orcs that I did not mention that have a Fey connection, which is interesting, but not really noteworthy. Moving on to Rogue, I would say the Assassin, Scout, and Swashbuckler would be the most common. In Magic the Gathering, the Ixalan series actually has Orc Pirates, which would be the Scouts and Swashbucklers. But honestly, the Assassin is going to be your most common orc, especially for a Grey Orc. Moving on to Sorcerer. The Runechild, Giant Soul, and Wild Magic origins are probably going to be your most common. Once again, referencing the Giant bloodline and that Fey subrace of Orc. For Warlock, I don't know if there would be that many that you would go for. For a Warlock. Fiend, sure, there are the Tanaruk, which are half-fiend orcs. The Archfey, referencing the Feywild connection of those type of orcs, and then the Undying for that one orc god who happens to govern death. For Wizard, the least likely class for an orc, I would suggest the War Magic and the Rune Crafter from the new Unearthed Arcana, as the only two wizards that would make sense for an orc to become. And with that, that is all the time I have for you today, my dear viewers. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you once again to our newest subscriber. And with that being said, this has been Drahon, and I am offline.